2 years, we didn't get irrigation water.
What happened was a complete disaster.
Without the water, the land will not produce enough money to make a living off of.
We understand that fish need water too.
I told my kids, I said, you're going to have to look at something besides the farm, because I said, I don't think that it's going to make it.
When the Endangered Species Act comes to town, things change.
Basically, one of the National Marine Fisheries Service employees told us, this is a train coming through, you can either get on it or get run over by it.
The people who are farming up here aren't millionaires. So to come up with $1 million, even $50,000 to make the improvements was impossible. So my job was to go tell them they couldn't operate. And these are my friends and neighbors. So it didn't make anybody feel good.
We kind of watched from a distance here, and once the smoke settled there, we said we got to go in there and help.
One of the things that we had been fighting for was to have a voice. What I was fighting against was this heavy-handed approach, but in the end, we all chose to be part of a solution rather than, just complain about the problem.
This is the story of the Upper Columbia Salmon Recovery Board and the power of partnership.
Bud Hover is a county commissioner, and the reason he ran to be a county commissioner was because of what happened to him as a farmer when NOAA Fisheries came in and shut off his irrigation water.
Concerned citizens and local leaders of neighboring watershed communities watched the turmoil, and a new idea began to germinate. What if they could band together and create their own salmon recovery plan? Who better to take stewardship of the land and the waterways than the people of the watershed itself? An unprecedented partnership took shape.
The Okanagan County, Chelan County, Douglas County with the Yakimas and the Colvilles got together and said, we will take this on.
Do you want to fight the Endangered Species Act, tell everybody at the federal government to go get lost? Or do we want to kind of set that stuff aside and say, this is our place, these are our salmon runs, our steelhead runs, these are our rivers, and we want to rebuild those runs because it's the right thing to do. They made that second choice.
3 counties joined with 2 tribal governments and formed the Upper Columbia Salmon Recovery Board. They believe the road to success lay not through top-down federal mandates, but from the bottom up through a massive grassroots effort based in the latest science, well-coordinated, and above all, voluntary.
Local people tend to trust local people they know and have a little bit of history with. The advantage of the Upper Columbia Board is that a significant portion of the board is involved with local elected officials. Without that involvement, it would be just another government alphabet soup agency.
Could they accomplish through voluntary means what the U.S. government could not with the full weight of its authority?
Traditionally and culturally, salmon have been a big part of Native Americans since time immemorial.
Yakima people have had a relationship with these fish species for thousands of generations. We believe that we are responsible for looking after these creations.
The reasons to restore salmon populations in the Columbia River are as varied as the people who live along its banks.
It is an amazing species that the whole Northwest culture does rally around and identify with.
We've learned over time the impacts that we've had, and we really haven't been that kind to them.
Why should we protect these fish? Who cares? So what if they go extinct? But if the environment continues to degrade, what's the next species to go?
For us up in this area, it's economics.
The last 15 years they haven't been able to fish, so that was a big economic impact for the city and the area.
The first job of the UCSRB was to pull together these varied interests, cultural, economic, and environmental, and unify them behind a mission statement that could allow them all to move forward together. For the purpose of recovering its salmon populations, Washington State has been divided into 7 regions. The Upper Columbia region spans over 10,000 square miles, larger than Connecticut, Delaware, and Rhode Island combined. The recovery effort is focused on 3 listed species, spring chinook, steelhead, and bull trout, as they migrate and spawn in 4 primary subbasins.
Before the board was set up, there was a lot of activities going on in every one of these subbasins, and there was very little coordination.
This salmon recovery effort was going this direction, and this salmon recovery effort was going that direction.
The amount of overlap was amazing. We would go to put a thermometer in the river, and we'd find there was already one there, and we didn't even know who had put it there. That's the sort of thing that this coordination does. It saves scarce dollars, and it makes things go faster.
I am flabbergasted at the progress that the board has made now over the last 8-10 years in helping to design their own recovery plan, and it's the board's plan, it's not our plan.
On October 9, 2007, the UCSRB's recovery plan was entered into the Federal Register, becoming one of the first locally developed recovery plans to be officially accepted under the Endangered Species Act.
They started out by going out and looking at the watershed and determining what were the factors that were impacting the fish the most.
Fish really need a diversity of habitats throughout all of their life stages.
Now, we don't necessarily have control over how many fish get here, so we felt that it was our responsibility to take the lead then on habitat restoration.
We've got 40 more projects in the works. The community's bought into the idea that we need to do something. We want to do it. Since it's driven from the bottom up, it's been very, very productive.
The recovery plan itself is a non-regulatory recovery plan, so that means we have no authority to make anybody do anything.
None of this could happen without the citizen support.
We try to enlist people. We never try to force anybody. We try to educate.
I was really impressed with how much people care. They really care about restoring habitat for fish and for making that work in the lives and property values of the homeowners.
I think that's something of great value to pass on to our children, that they can go down to a river and see salmon down there spawning.
By working together with farmers and landowners up and down the Columbia River, the UCSRB has coordinated the implementation of around 300 projects over the last decade.
I think one of the most valuable things that the Upper Columbia Salmon Recovery Board does is to coordinate all of the scientific knowledge in the Upper Columbia and convene the regional technical team.
You can think of it as a panel of experts that's set up to kind of review these projects.
And that's where we're really working through the nitty-gritty, the details and the science behind what actions are being implemented, what the effects of those actions are, and how the populations are responding. It's a way of learning and changing your strategy based on what you learned.
What the Upper Columbia Board has done is provide an overall roadmap to success and an overall coordinating body that we all respect and will cooperate with, so that we can phase our activities and make the most efficient use of public money. And there isn't a lot of that out there, so we have to make sure we use it wisely.
And it doesn't take that much money to keep the board functioning. And the benefits to that community and to the solving of the problems are enormous. These efforts have got to be funded.
You know, this year alone we've had about $4 million come into Chelan County.
A lot of the local contractors get work to build fish habitat projects. A lot of the survey companies, consultants.
Construction workers, excavators, trucks, loaders.
While the Upper Columbia Salmon Recovery Plan is a 30-year plan, the efforts are already showing results. In the Methow Valley, the irrigation water is back on, farmers are producing, and salmon are returning.
A fish swimming up the river today, as opposed to a decade ago, sees a much changed environment.
It's more than just recovering the species. It's a way of life for the people that live here.
I feel a lot better now than I did 20 years ago. This year we got to share 16,000 sockeye with our tribal members. You know, it's just a good feeling by the Cobble tribe.
There are a lot of people out there that are working really hard, and it's great to have fish coming back. It validates all their work.
It's a hugely successful model.
It's working. but we have a long ways to go.
It's something you have to stay everlastingly at. It sort of has to be incorporated into the way you live if you're going to preserve these ecosystems.
If we keep on with what we're doing now, we will be talking soon about delisting criteria and when we can get this Endangered Species Act stuff out of the way.
Today, we have a tremendous opportunity, not only for the fish, but for the ecosystems, for the water, for the aesthetics of where we live. It'll make it better for our children, for our grandchildren.
It goes a long ways for our culture of conservation and protection of this important resource.
I think it's all about building relationships. I think being straightforward.
You know, just people getting out there and getting out on the ground and working with other people.
I just think the people up there deserve a lot of credit. That's where the credit ought to be. It's on the people that live there, because in the last analysis, it's up to them. And if they decide to do it, then it'll happen. It's just that simple.
The mighty Columbia cuts down through our land. Deep, cold, big river surges past the dams. Brings us the great fish. Man, that river's grand, they coming back. River goes down, 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 fish come up, up, up. River runs down, 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 fish jump up, up, up. River goes down, 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 fish swim up, up, up. They coming back. Shining silver salmon fly back from the sea. Chinook and sockeye, all for you and me. Coho and steelhead make the journey too, they're coming back. River goes down, 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 fish come up.